Hey everyone, it's Stephanie again, and you are tuned in to the review of Married at First Sight, Season 9, Episode 12. Alright guys, so as many of you know, I am in South Florida. I'm actually in Palm Beach, so we are doing a lot of hurricane preparedness right now. So that's why this review is a little late, but also just keep us in your prayers and keep everybody kind of in the vicinity of in your prayers if you do pray, and hopefully we will get back to you next week and keep it going. So I'm gonna kind of rush through this review because there's just a lot going on, but I definitely wanted to kind of touch base and let you know what I thought about this week. So this week the couples had a couples retreat. Now, why I was okay with this concept versus last season's group trip was because it felt like it had a purpose. Last season, they did this group concept on a trip, and it just felt like a joke. It just felt like, let's throw them in there and see how it works. Whereas this trip felt more like a purposeful couples retreat. And they sat down and they had a group experience. They ask each other questions, and it showed the beauty of why the group dynamic is really, really important. I used to do group therapy, and the beauty of the group dynamic is that you can learn and you can identify from the other people in the group. And so it's not surprising that we saw some people like Deonna say, or I forgot who else said, you know what, I saw a little bit of myself in that person, and when that person said this, it resonated with me because I do that or I see that. That's the beauty of the group dynamic, that you can learn from the group. It's not necessarily about the moderator as it is about people who are intentionally there for a really good reason. They want to share, they want to grow, they want to learn, and they're authentic in their experience. That way you can identify with them because they're being real. So let's talk about somebody who is starting out in a very inauthentic way, okay? Because when I'm talking about authenticity, the opposite comes to mind, because Matt shows up and he does one thing but says the complete other. So he sits in the group, and I'll start with the group dynamic because that's what's most important to me in this whole series. Yeah, they got together, they had fun, they looked at rooms, and there was a spider and there's a bear, and they had a pretty good time. So there were no issues between any of them, but the group experience is like most important. So Matt says that he is really committed to this process, and you can see that what he's saying doesn't measure up. His body language is saying something completely different. He's still not coming home. We find out he's still coming home later than he should be, later than what was agreed upon, which, if you recall, a couple of weeks ago when I said, you know, she gave him more than most people would give him in terms of, you don't have to come home till 2 or 2:30. I was like, okay, he's definitely going to push that. And we see that he has. He hangs out with his friends every single day. So he's not showing up as a person who's really committed to this process. And he is saying that he is in it because he really cares about her and he really wants to make it work. But then on another end, he's saying he doesn't even know how he feels, if he thinks that he's even happy. When he said that, I don't know if I'm even happy, because the guys and the girls met separately as a group, and then they met together. He said that with the guys, it's clear you're not happy. Everything about what you're doing, everything about your actions and inactions show that you're not happy, that you're not committed. I don't think Matt, I think it's beyond Amber. I don't think it's necessarily, okay, he doesn't like Amber. I think if he was with somebody that he likes, he would be putting in a little more effort, and some of the stuff that is so simple to us would come a little easier to him. But I think he would still struggle because I don't think Matt is ready for any type of lifestyle that makes him accountable. He's not even accountable to himself. And if you're not accountable to yourself, then you can't be accountable to somebody else. And right now, I don't think any type of relationship, not even marriage, would force him to be someone other than he is right now, which is someone who does not want to have any type of anything. He's with his friends all the time. He's always saying, I want to get out. I'm trying to have me time. You know, me time is cool. Individual time is great. It's necessary, but he always wants that. If your me time supersedes your time that you want to spend with your spouse, that's a red flag. And we see that Amber isn't buying it. Like, Amber is kind of saying, okay, why aren't you saying this to me? Like, this is the first that I'm hearing of this. And her body language lets us know that she is completely guarded herself and she's like cut off inside. There's nothing about her body language that is smitten when he's saying these things that sound so great, because she has experienced the truth of who he is. And if you see the circle around, they're like, oh Matt, that was sweet. Like, but they don't really know him. And she has experienced time and time again that he says one thing and does another. So I think the group experience was cool for most of them except for Matt, because I don't think he's being realistic at all, and I don't think he's being honest. I think Amber is being honest and she's giving herself 100%, and I think she's being more aware of what's going on. She's still hopeful, and I know we're all looking like, girl, this is not going to work out, but she's at least aware that things aren't measuring up. He's not really being authentic to her, and this is not looking good. And it's unfortunate, but I want her to prepare herself, because this is who you have. And no matter how much you pour into him, hoping that you get a different result, we find that he may not change, and he probably won't. I'm glad that she had the conversation with her best guy friend, because he let her down like softly, kind of like, you know, that's a problem, him being out every single night, and telling her that she is deserving of someone who wants her for her. He didn't say it as directly as I think if it was two guys sitting there, because guys just tend to like go straight for the punch. But he was supportive enough to let her know something is wrong with what's going on here. And you could see in his body language that from a male perspective, he's like, okay, this guy's not into you. But he didn't just kind of throw it out there, but at least he didn't say, it'll get better. Because I think if she was with a girlfriend who isn't as self-aware or could see as clear, could probably like coax her to think differently or try to see it for what it isn't. So I was glad to see her have that awareness and her to start to get a little guarded as best as she can. But she's still 100% all in. So that is my 2 cents on Matt and Amber. Let's go to, so we'll start off with the couples that I usually say for last. So we'll go to Jamie and Elizabeth. Jamie and Elizabeth, I was surprised because I bet my husband at the beginning of the episode that they were going to get into an argument, because I just didn't see them lasting what we see is like an hour and a half without them getting into an argument, but they did not. So I was surprised. I think there's still some tension there, you know, them getting together. He wasn't home for 4 days. You know, they just need to call it quits. And I really hate saying that because I get so hopeful for these couples, but he hasn't been home for, I guess it's 2 days or 4 days. I heard both at the beginning of the episode. They come together very smug. You know, no one is coming to the table humble and honest, and they're kind of like short jabbing each other, and she's slurping her drink obnoxiously for a long time, and he's just taking his time as if it's like, you know, a date night at the ice cream parlor. Like it's a joke. And they take a while to get to the point where they are having an effective conversation. It didn't really happen until the end. And the thing with the two of them is, and why I'm not impressed, is they have a really great way of cleaning things up. They can clean things up like such civilized people, you know? And then in the next second, they're cursing each other out and acting a fool and like going for the jugular. But then, you know, 5 minutes later, it'll be like, yeah, we really need to communicate, and I just want to be with you, and I just want to be with you. But like, none of your actions really show that beyond what's comfortable for you guys. And it matters the most when you guys aren't comfortable, because that's when you guys turn into the couple that really doesn't need to be together. So I'm not impressed with their ability to have a clean up conversation, because I think they're actually attracted to that whole dynamic for them. I think they're attracted to the roller coaster and the intense fighting, even though they don't like it and they don't want to be around it because they know that it's not supposed to be that way. But they know how to do it. So they can come, they can have this intensity, they can go crazy, and then they can come down and have this cleanup, and then they get together, and it's okay. I found it interesting that Jamie took sex off the table, because that's a huge deal for him, because the whole sex thing has been his Achilles heel, and he's been harping on it, and it's made her uncomfortable, and it seems to have gotten in the way. And I definitely think sex early, although they're married, does cloud judgment and shift focus, but especially with no other real connection, like connection of depth. They're probably connected, but connection of depth, and they don't have that in 6 weeks. So that was interesting to see that Jamie took that off the table. And then they kind of had a good time the rest of the time. They talked about, they mirrored each other when I think Deanna was talking about her experiences with Greg, and Elizabeth said, listen, I don't say it that well. I say it in a way that you probably don't get it, and it's probably aggressive, but that's how I feel. And I do think they genuinely like care about each other a lot, but I think it's like an unhealthy dysfunctional attachment. And if they had tools and discipline and self-control, it could develop into something that has longevity. Because we hear Jamie say, what am I going to do if I didn't last here? Then what do I go date again? Like, I can't imagine that. And when he said that, I believed him. I just think he does not know how to do anything any better. And I think she doesn't either. Hence why they had to sign up for the show, because they weren't making it happen on their own. So there has always been potential with them. But based on what I'm seeing, I don't see it going long, because they are doing damage that over time just can't be redone. So that's Jamie and Elizabeth. Okay, next we have Iris and Keith. So Iris and Keith, they continue to grow to me. Iris and Keith are a lovely couple. I've loved them. I've fanned and stand for them the whole time. But we just see some differences with them. Keith kind of wanting more maturity. It's not just about sex for him. It's about the emotional maturity, and Iris being regimented. Now, Iris to me is like Miss America. And I think I've said that before, where she gets up and she, what do you want? And it's world peace. It's the perfect answer. She can give answers very perfectly. When you see her unfiltered, her advice to others is great. She presents really well, but then there's just some things that she hasn't been able to put into practice. And there's like some growth that she can't get beyond, at least on camera. Because I believe that off camera, these people can be very different. Not that they aren't being themselves, but it's a lot to put yourself out there. And I definitely see the reservation in Iris, and there's a lot of her that we just have not been able to see. But we're also watching him experience her in that way, and this is how he's known her. And since he's known her, they have been filming. So there is a lot that just isn't gelling, I think, simply because this is not the most transparent experience that they could have. And the irony is they're putting it all out there, allegedly, and we're all watching it, but I don't think they're having the most transparent experience. And I think that is kind of getting to be something that is concerning for him, because he has to now make a decision, and they have to all make a decision based on what they've known. And so it's kind of like you roll the dice. Can I just continue on with this person hoping that it'll get better, or is what I've been getting what it is? But I still think there's potential there, because we don't know her off camera, and I think he's doing his best to be as patient, but he might also need to step it up in ways where she becomes more comfortable, and he can kind of, stroke another fire, because the one that we're looking at is out for now. So that's Iris and Keith. There's nothing that really, outside of what we've been talking about in terms of the connection and the emotional maturity. I'm not even gonna bring up the V word, because I just don't want to hear about it for the rest of the season. I just hope that they can make it beyond this, and at least get to know each other to really see who they are, beyond this experiment. So that's Iris and Keith. Last but not least, we have Deanna and Greg. Once again, I mean, they are the poster child for this series and for this experiment. I mean, each week we watch them grow, we watch them push themselves. Greg is better than me, man, because I am probably more like Greg in terms of adventure. There's no way I would try any of that stuff. It's disgusting. Like, I would never try it. And my husband wouldn't even ask me, because he would know that if my love is proving through that, then it ain't here, but he tries it, and he's kind of trying to seal the deal. Like on the green screen, he's kind of like, we have one more week left. I'm going to go ahead and eat this cockroach, or whatever they ate. I think it was like a grub or a beetle or something gross, whatever it is. And he did it. But beyond that, it's very reflective of how he is willing to get uncomfortable for her, and in a healthy way. I mean, you don't want to do something that you're totally against, but you do, if you ask for adventure, you ask for somebody who can push you and maybe they're more spontaneous, then you got to kind of go with that spontaneity, and that helps you in other ways. That's going to help him within himself, the way he does stuff, the way he conducts business, the way he has relationships, because he's going to find another aspect of himself that he did not have before, because he naturally is not like that, and he hasn't been with someone who has pushed him to be that way, and he likes it. I mean, I think it's that particular thing is gross, but he likes it. And I think she is good at kind of being proud of him and verbalizing that she's proud of him for doing things that make him uncomfortable, and she's excited by that. If you see her, she's all smiles, she's happy, she's turned on. I mean, you know, that doesn't look like turned on, but I know just from a woman's perspective, she's turned on by him willing to kind of put himself out there and get uncomfortable and do that for her. And that's helping her build esteem in herself within this relationship, because here's this man willing to do that for me. And we don't know too much of her history, but we do know that she did not date this type of guy. And so this is helping build her esteem in that relationship within herself, which is going to help bring her walls down. And they're just having a good time, you know, holding hands in the car, walking hand in hand. They got the best room. You know, they're easy breezy, you know, beautiful cover girl. Like, as far as I'm concerned, I have no doubt in my mind that they will stay together. And I'm really happy to see them get along so well. So that's Deanna and Greg. I think next week is decision day. So I think it is. I didn't see the previews. I assume that it is. But we will definitely, all things barred, hurricane-wise, we will definitely come to you and let you know what we thought of the episode. I'm going to bring hubby on for the next episode. You guys get to hear how he feels about Iris's virginity and all the questions that you have regarding of what he thinks about the second part of this season. Okay, all right guys, so thank you so much. As always, don't forget to comment, subscribe, and like, and I will see you guys next week. Everyone have a great weekend.